Welcome to the Waxing Podcast. I'm Kirsten Getzleman, esthetician, educator, and your host. Each week, we'll dive into real conversations, industry tips, and the kind of advice every beauty pro should have in their back pocket. This show is sponsored by Enso, a woman and esthetician-founded brand bringing better options to everyday beauty pros. Let's dive in. Can I be so honest with you guys right now? For those of you who watch this, you may see that I have the Waxing Podcast cue cards. They're so cute. I literally turned them over and they're blank. Guys, I saw in my last video that I kind of showed you that they're blank. So I was like, let me just call myself out. I love these in theory. I think they're so cute. And a part of me is like, Kirsten, make them work. Like, do it. And I also want the 8x10s. These are the 5x7s. They feel a little bit too small. So maybe when I upgrade and get bigger ones, but like the way I do not want to write on these damn cue cards, and I get in here and everything's on my phone. And so I like, you'll see me. I'll have my cue cards for aesthetic. I'll have my phone for like actual. And then I'll of course have like a little drink, a little vibe in the corner. And I know it may seem like I drink Diet Coke on a goddamn reg, like you wouldn't believe, but just know that like mostly I'm drinking these when I'm here. And like when I'm podcasting, and they're mini. Do minis even count? I like to be on the side that they don't. Hello, welcome back to the Waxing Podcast. If this is your first episode, hey, what's up? I'm Kirsten. I have been literally here for 5 years. I can't believe it. I wonder when I'll be bored and want to retire, but so far we're going strong. And I love this community that we've built together. So if you're not new here, you already know how I feel about you. I think this is just a fun place to have almost like a FaceTime chat. Even though you're not here in person, it feels like I'm actually soundboarding to my best friends. And so I always want to help my best friends. I'm a giver in that way. And so I love podcasting because if there's anything I can teach you, I will. Why not? I don't feel like I gatekeep anything unless I'm actively in the middle of it. Enso. Like, I don't love, I'm not going to like teach people how to open their own wax brand. Like, I'm still figuring that damn shit out myself. But today I brought back a really popular episode, which was asking me questions. These questions come from all over the place. Sometimes a DM, sometimes like in our Discord channel, our community channel, I will have people ask questions when I put out a thing. So like they're coming from all different areas, but people DM me often. I wouldn't say too much. I say just enough. And so sometimes I keep questions in the back of my pocket for the time that I answer all of these. And so today's episode is going to be all about waxing questions, business questions. Yeah. So like, let's get right into it. These are my favorite kind of to do because although I see these questions beforehand, I don't prep for them too hard because my answer always changes day by day, which I think is healthy in this business. How I teach people and when I'm in person doing presentations and stuff like that, I always make sure to mention that I'm not somebody who curates a lot of things. And the reason why is because I go off of in the moment and how I'm feeling then. So like if you've listened to an episode that I've done 4 years ago, 3 years, I mean, it doesn't really matter the time period. It could literally have been a month ago and I say something else. It's not because I'm trying to tell people what they want to hear. It's because my mind has literally changed since then. I think that's the beauty of life is like we grow and we expand and we learn something new and we're taught something new. Like I'm somebody in the industry who is not stuck in my ways. I definitely have rituals, don't get me wrong, but I'm somebody who is open to learning. And I think that everybody has, for the majority, the best interest in mind. So another thing about that is like, unless somebody is doing something like dangerous or unsanitary to their clients, I believe there's a lot of ways to do things in this industry. And I think that's one of the things that I find to be really pet peevey in this industry is I recently just saw on TikTok somebody going in about like somebody's technique that they saw online and how like everybody at their school was making fun of them and like they never felt like they were a creditable source for education because of that. It's like a little harsh, right? And it's so funny because I feel like the harshest stuff sometimes comes from students. And if you're a student, like no shame to you, it's literally what your teachers make you do. Like there's never been a time at the trade shows where I get picked on as much as I do with like students because they come in there and they're like, just they're like ready to like beat you down with the book. And like, I think one of the things you learn outside of school is like, yeah, the book is so helpful to pass your test, but like real life experience ends up being real life situations. And like, obviously, when I just said, as long as it's not dangerous or it's not causing unsanitation to your treatment room or client, like, there's just so many ways to do something. Why do I feel like I'm getting lost? What were we just talking about? You know what I mean, though? Like, yes. So, like, things change all the time with me. Like, I feel like, I don't know, things that I thought I knew, I didn't, and I make sure to, like, change it. Like, I'm not gonna, like, double down. So, here are my questions, or here are your questions. Here's my answers, and I hope you learned something from this. My socials for this, I forgot to mention, Tampa Waxer, Enso Wax, The Waxing Podcast. Come hang out, come DM. I love it. I always voice memo. If you've been in my DMs, you know that for the most part, if it's not a short answer, I'm into voice memoing. And people always find it really funny that they listen to voice memos and they're like, oh shit, you're the same voice that's on the podcast. That happens at trade shows too. And I always think it's really funny. They're like, it's so weird to hear your voice in person. I'm like, I know. It's weird to hear my own voice when I'm, you know, doing these podcasts and stuff. Okay, here we go. So, waxing clients and business, let's get into all of it. Okay, so someone said, what's the first thing that I do with all of like my Brazilian clients? Basically asking me, I think one day she was asking me just like what was like my favorite way to like prep every single client. And so I always prep my clients with a little wipe. Right now, I'm using just the strip. And I don't remember the name of the wipes because I've had them for so long, but there's a feather on them. So I got a huge pack from her a while back, and those have been serving me very well. So before every single client walks in the door, I always have one prepped on the bed with a paper on it as well. And then I have everything laid out on my counter of what I'm going to use. So, like sticks, aftercare, post care, sometimes a tweezer if I'm doing extractions, things like that. But yes, every single client gets a wipe. I love that. And it's not because that's how I prep their skin. It's just like another way to make them feel comfortable. So every single client coming in is going to be feeling insecure. And I feel like the best way to get them to stop feeling insecure is number one, making them feel comfortable with your voice. But number two is giving them something that they feel like they could freshen up with, even if they just left their shower to come to the appointment. Like it's just that extra thing, really inexpensive. And I don't know, I think everybody should be like prepping their client in both that way and then obviously prepping for their actual appointment. So that's how I prep every single client. Somebody asked, do I use numbing spray? I do not use numbing spray. I used to use it when I was an employee at a place that I worked because we obviously offered it. And I will tell you, it's really great if like you have a receptionist and your receptionist can sell that to the person. And the reason why I say that is because mostly first time appointments are going to call into the business to book where the receptionist will book them. And well, let me take that back because you can do this too, but let me just give you my point of view because I did have a receptionist at the time. So she would answer the phone. They would ask to come in. She would find out they were a first time client and then she would offer the numbing, right? So she's like, okay, just to let you know, a lot of clients feel really comfortable coming in a little bit early and putting this numbing agent on. Some say that it really helps. And do you want to like do that? And it probably was like an upsell or whatever else. But I guess you could do it back and forth if you want to text. I just feel like when you're on your own and you're in a studio by yourself, I don't know how logistically that works when you have a client come in 20 minutes early. Because the one thing I will say about the numbing agents is that it takes time for the numbing to go into effect. And then at what point is it like going to relieve your wax pain? That I'm always cautious on because I'm like, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, like you're literally ripping hair out of the skin, out of the body. Like it doesn't feel great. And I don't think there's really anything that is going to enhance that experience for a client unless it's been time and their hair's thinner and all of that. So I don't numb my clients. I have numbed my clients. I do think it's a psychological thing. I will not lie. Sometimes I've had clients come wanting to get numbed, but they didn't have enough time because they showed up late. And I'm like, look, and I kind of just admit it to them. Like, although I do, say if you want to do numbing, I'm all for it. But I want to let you know, like, it's definitely like a placebo. I'll help you in the room, take deep breaths, things like that. So that's kind of the way I position it. And I'm not saying numbing does not work. I'm just saying, coming in, having a client spend 20 minutes getting numb beforehand, I don't know. I just weigh out the pros and the cons on that, and to be honest, it just at the time, right now, today's Kirsten feels like it's like a con. But maybe if I had a receptionist, maybe if I had the power of, like, upselling that and bringing people in and, like, them feeling more comfortable or the placebo effect literally working, I mean, why wouldn't you like the idea of that, right? Like, why wouldn't you want that extra comfort for your clients? So, like, in that case, sure, but I don't use it. Okay, I also had somebody the other day ask me because she has a really hard time selling retail, and she basically said, "How do you talk to clients about ingrowns and not sound like a broken record?" And, that's kind of sales. Sales is being a little bit of a broken record. You know, Launching Enso has really taught me some interesting realities of what sales and marketing is. And a lot of it is just repeating yourself 24/7 and finding new creative outlets to do that. And so, same in your treatment room. Like, if you're selling ingrown based products and your clients primarily are focused on ingrowns, like, you will sound like a broken record, but just remember that you're only a broken record to yourself. They are hearing information for the first, second, or third time. But always remember, if your clients aren't into buying something the first time, sometimes it takes somebody a good 7 to 8 times to decide yes. Like, don't give up on your clients, and I don't mean, like, in a way of, like, letting it go, because, like, you can get a pretty good idea of who's not into it and who is, but, like, as long as you're doing your job and you're, going at it in the way of educating them as a professional, there's no such thing as too much selling. Like, if your client's coming in with struggles and they're concerned about it, then number one and only rule that I have for you is to continue to sell it like a broken record until they give in and they get a good result from you. Because I promise you, they won't be mad at you for getting them a good result, if that makes sense. So find like a good script to use, find like good analogies to use, find good like testimonials to use. I feel like that's always good too. The more you can put yourself on autopilot with a lot of conversational pieces that you have in your room, the better. And what I mean by that is, like, the more you can just kind of, like, casually say stuff out loud without even thinking about it, the better it is for your mental and for your mental exhaustion at the end of your day. So I kinda go back to this, and I've done this in another episode where I talk about scripting out Brazilian waxes. There's nothing worse than having to start a brand new conversation with every single new client for every single new Brazilian wax. It's already really, really exhausting to have a new client for Brazilian waxing because they're nervous. You have to go through all those emotional roller coasters with them. But when you have a script, you kind of just fly off the seat of your pants, can do it like riding a bike, and you don't even think anything about it. Same goes for selling. So if you're going to sell stuff, make sure that you have all of these panned out in your head so that you can just seamlessly just start like pushing them on and off. Like, just, it's better for you. It's like you don't have to keep making up reasons why this person should have X. Like, if it's worked for this person, if they said yes to this sales line that you said, reuse it 100 more times, and then know when to flip the script when it's for somebody else who needs sold in a different way. AKA like putting them on the bridge of belief. And then just being educated is how you sell products. And what I mean by that is not like educated on big words, because, like, you guys have heard enough hiccups. I mean educated on like the ingredients and like what they do, like what's in it for the client, and be educated about what specifics are in the product to do those for the client. Yeah. Okay. What's my take on waxing clients during their period? My take is I don't have a take. I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. I mean, it could care less. I don't know if this has heightened since I've had a kid, but I feel like I always was like this. Also, I went into this industry, specifically waxing, where the owner who I was an employee with, it was, yeah, like, it wasn't even a big deal. So I kind of was that was always what it was. So now, because I'm so comfortable with it, and I also remind people, like, I always say it's just a string. It doesn't matter, like, because it really is. I just let them know, and so I say, "I don't care. I don't care. It's a string. It means nothing. I don't care." But you will and might be more sensitive during that time and more irritable with people, like, touching you in that way, and I mean touching you in that way, like ripping hair out of their body. That does not feel good for anybody, let alone when you're feeling irritable. So I let them make that decision, Also, to tie that into like cancellations when people start their period and cancel, guys, it's a pass for me. It's a green pass. If somebody does not feel comfortable with coming into their appointment on their period, I will never be somebody to judge or make that decision for somebody else. Like, I don't care, but if you care, that's validating enough. So I don't know how other people do that, but that's the least of my worries. But if it's your worry, I respect it. I just try to make sure that they know, like for real, that I don't. Here's the thing. A lot of wax brands load up their formulas with fuzzy ingredients for the marketing label. Think lavender, zinc, acai, matcha, 24 karat gold, unicorn dust, you name it. But half of it doesn't do anything once it hits the skin, and the real performance suffers. At Enso, we don't chase trends, we chase results. Our waxes are made with high quality, functional ingredients that actually support the skin and help you work efficiently. No gimmicks, no fillers, just wax that melts beautifully, spreads like butter, and is a wax that your clients notice. If you've ever felt like your wax wasn't quite delivering, it might be time to stop buying the buzzword and start choosing performance. Use code TWP10 for 10% off your first order, and I'm going to drop the link down below for you to come hang out in the completely free Enso community channel. It's where estheticians are having real conversations, and you're learning about Enso before anybody else. No, it's not your next Facebook group. Enso is a wax that work as hard as you do, and I'm so excited for you to take this opportunity to try it for yourself. Care. Okay, I had a question that said, what do you do when somebody's wax isn't like the hair cycles are not lining up? And I feel like this is not talked about enough in the industry in a way that like nobody really says what I'm about to say next, and that is, not everybody is a good candidate for waxing. I think we try to say and feel like it can be or is because we want as many clients in our room as possible. And because we do know that it's a great service, but that doesn't mean that service is for them. So like if you have a client whose hairs are just not lining up, sometimes they're just not a good client. Like sometimes their hair is always going to be in a rotation of one cycle happening while the other is dormant. And then right when that one becomes a full grown, the dormant one starts to release. And if they don't come in at some insane unicorn time, they're always going to have leftover hair behind. So with those clients, and if that's happening, and I've had that happen quite a few times where it just never ever lined up, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, it never lined up. I actually recommended them to laser. And so I would say a laser is a really, really good option for you because what it does is it does permanent hair reduction. And so, like, if they have two hairs to a follicle or if they just have a lot of different cycles, sometimes that laser will reduce those cycles for them. And then, as maintenance, they can come back and get waxed. So, that's actually what I've personally done with my own. And that's probably why I'm really big on that advice because, like, I have the experience from that. So I have had laser done, but I also maintenance it with waxing. I think it's a perfect combination. I think I love the fact that people are bringing lasers into their treatment rooms and their studios because I 100% think one can exist with the other. And quite frankly, I think more estheticians and more waxers should consider it as part of their service in their treatment room and as another income form for growing your business. So I think laser is a really great option. If not that, I just kind of mess around with people's weeks. So like if their hair isn't aligning and their wax isn't doing what it needs to do, I'll move them from 4 to 5. I'll move them from 5 to 6. I'll move them from 6 to 4. Like I kind of just play around with them in the first like 4 to 5 months. I kind of let it stay consistent for the first 1, 2, and then the third appointment, we start to switch things up because it does take a couple of months to get your hair really used to it. But as a professional, you can kind of see when you need to switch it up a little bit. And then also, it's really ultimately up to the client. So, like, if I want to push somebody out for 6 weeks and they look at me like I'm absolutely insane, like there's no way they can go that long, then I'm totally fine with them coming in week 5 or week 4, as long as they know that this may be a recurring thing forever, right? But also, the expectations on results vary from person to person. I have somebody who doesn't get a perfect wax every single time, but she doesn't care because the benefits still outweighs the non-perfect wax. Like she's somebody who gets really bad bumps and ingrowns when she shaves. And so like it doesn't even need to be perfect. She's just thankful that she doesn't have to suffer from that. So like also figure out like what is your client's goals, because not every single goal is going to be aligned and matching with the next person walking in out of the door. When did I know that it was time to raise my prices? So this is a personal choice for everyone who is looking to raise their prices, but there are some key indicators that tell you, yes, it's time. So number one, a really good reason to raise your prices is if you're fully booked and you can no longer add anyone else in and you're looking to give yourself a raise in that way. Normally, businesses, corporations, people that are paying you W-2s are giving you natural raises every year in your job. So, like a lot of estheticians won't give themselves raises, but I want to remind you that if you weren't an esthetician and you were working in corporate, you'd be getting a raise. So, like treating it like that is always key. Sometimes people always blame it on like inflation and product costs and all that stuff. But like, to be honest, there's no shame in wanting to give yourself a raise. You are growing your business. You are here to make money and you're here to have a great life and take a vacation. So like, if you need to raise your prices, do it. And to be honest, the more often you do it, and this may be a hot take, probably is, but the more often you do it, the less you have to raise it. So you don't have to do some huge big raise. Maybe like a yearly raise of like $1 and then over time, you know what I mean? So that's a really good reason to raise your prices. Another good reason to raise your prices is inflation, is new product costs. Make sure you always have your numbers aligned on the back end so that you know how much is coming in, how much is going out. I'll do a whole episode on that. I actually think that would be a really good episode to do. Expenses, yeah, if expenses are climbing or, like, if you're feeling burnt out and, like, you can't stand to come back into work because you're just like, "It's not worth it," well, you probably need to give yourself a little raise. Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, being booked is a really good tell sign. And then if, after that you're ready to expand, you can always hire another employee, things like that, and then give them a lower price and like do like a tiered thing until then they graduate. Like there's so many ways you could do it. It's such a personal choice, but I do think everybody should treat it like you're giving yourself a raise in corporate. That's like basically where I'll stop there. Ooh, okay. Cancellation policies. This is a really big one in our industry. And remember when I went back to the episode where I told you, as long as you're not damaging like your client, and damaging is like a weird word to say, but if you get what I mean by that, or you're not being sanitary, I don't care. I don't care what you do with your business. I'm not going to sit here and say this is how you do your cancellation policy. And if you don't do it, you're wrong. This is literally what people try to do all the time. This is why I don't also like Facebook groups, because people come for people about cancellation policies. Here's my take on this. And have a cancellation policy. So I will say that is a big take, because like have one. But whatever you choose, whatever flexibility you give on that, just stay consistent. If you're somebody that has a 24-hour cancellation policy and it is like too bad, too sad, stick to it. Don't just do it for Suzanne and not do it for Kylie. Like make sure that both people are getting treated the same and vice versa. If you're really flexible, then be okay with clients treating you like you're very flexible. And that's like where I'll leave that. I'm really flexible. So like I'm somebody who has had my clients and I've had them all for 8 years. I don't take many clients these days. Like I wish I was fully booked every day, but I'm not. And I don't want new clients. And so I dealt the cards that I gave in this side of the industry. And if my clients are having a bad fucking day and they're stuck at work and it's just not working, I it just depends, right? A lot of my clients also tell me to charge them, so that's really helpful. But I always have a rule where if I can get them, so like if they cancel on a Monday and I can get them back on Thursday and I have the availability, fine. If it's the holidays, I'm booked up, they canceled, I had somebody wanting to get in, charge. Like play this however you want to play it. And that's how I explain it to my clients. Look, I've been really busy. I had someone else wanting to come in. I have to charge you because that spot would have been taken. They don't argue with it. I move on. If I have a bunch of availability on the next 2 days and I'm like, hey, if I can get you in at 12 o'clock on Thursday, I'll just move your appointment over. Don't worry about it. Like I'm flexible, but that does not have to be you. I'm not looking to grow my business in some big way because I have Enso. So like with that being said, I have friends that are really strict on this and I think it's great. And if I had a whole brick and mortar business with multiple employees, at that point, you're taking into consideration your employees and their time. And I think I would be more strict on that. So, like, I think whatever your boundaries are, just be consistent about it. Okay. How do you balance content creation with seeing clients full time? This one is hard because I don't think, and like I tried to do classes and content classes and follow content experts who were once media managers, and like as much as I value their information, it's just so hard to put like that theoretical into reality, especially as an esthetician. Like, we have to be present when our clients are here. Like, there's not a point where we could stop what we're doing and block out a 30-minute break to make content unless you pre-do it. Meaning, like, if you have like an office job or something like that, like, I'm sure like after a meeting you can block off a moment. But like with estheticians, we kind of go, go, go. So content creation is really, again, I keep saying it's a personal choice, but like, let me just like be a reminder that everything is a personal choice, and like it really is up to you how you want to create your brand. And I hope you find this to be good advice and not just like shitty advice, because you set up however you want it to work in your business. So like for me, for example, Mondays are my really big day to get a lot of admin stuff done, which I know is a lot of stuff for a lot of things for other estheticians, but like specifically mine's podcasting, emailing, content creation. Like, this is a big day for me to do all of that. And then I take clients at 3. So like at 7, which 3 to 7, girl, trust me, I know it's 4 hours, but at 7, I'm exhausted. But Mondays are my day. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I obviously delegate it to other things. But like, that's my day. Those are the things I choose. If I get a spur of the moment idea that I want to record and in the moment I feel like I do it, I stopped worrying about being aesthetic. I don't actually care. I feel like if I have information I want to share, I'll hop on my car. I'll be with no makeup on. Like, I don't know. I've adapted and changed all the time, and my opinion changes on that all the time, but like that's where I'm at right now. But like, if you can set up a day to go in and film content, but like what sucks about that is like, you can say every Monday I'm going to do this, but like there are some Mondays that I'm like, I'm not fucking doing it because I'm not in the mood. I feel like I'm having a bad day. I'm on my period. I just got a bad email about, losing 10 grand. Like, want to do it. So like, it's like, have a consistent schedule, but be okay with life happening and be okay with giving yourself grace to do it on another day. Batching content is great. I do like batching content, but sometimes I'll batch too much content. And then the next week or the next week, I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm like, no, this felt good in the moment. This doesn't feel good to post 2 weeks later. So like, I don't know. I've always kind of just done real time content and when I felt sparked. And our industry is so niche. Like, I'm always like, man, I would love to be like an influencer or like a content creator where, like, at this, you could do a dance, tell a joke, call a friend, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much limited niche shit that you have to talk about as an esthetician that like content can get really hard. So when it does get hard, break. When it doesn't get hard, flow. Like, you know, just go about it with what feels natural to you. If you're not a content person, then don't force it. Find new ways to talk about the information that you want to share. Maybe it's like not even putting yourself in the video at all. Maybe it's just carousel education. There's so many ways that you can do this. And my advice, if you're ever feeling like you're in a content slump, is to go into other industries that are not ours and look and see what they're doing. Do you know how many people, like, full transparency, since I started Enso back in 2022, and 2023 we launched, in 2024 Penny came out, and let me tell you, like, I muted everybody. I muted all wax brands, I muted all people. I muted a lot of people in our industry, not estheticians, like not customers, not friends, nothing like that. But like, and the reason why is cuz like I worked for a brand who all they would talk about is what other people were doing. Like, it was literally everything that would come out of their mouths during meetings is like, what are they doing? Let's compare ourselves up to this person. Like, what's the trends? And like, to be quite fucking frank, I don't care about the trends. I don't care about what the other people are doing. And the more I see it, the more I find my creativity dimming. So, my advice to you is, if you're feeling like you're in a creative slump, take what I do, mute all the people that are making you feel this way. And I don't mean like feel this way negatively. I mean, like, if you feel like you're being bombarded with aesthetic content and now your creativity is diluted because you're consistently looking at what other people are trending, quiet it down. Take the noise off, because you're creative. We're in this industry, so that means you're creative. estheticians are not creative. It's just like, it's not a given thing to us. Go look at what painters are doing. Go look at what purse creators are doing. Go look at what people are doing that are knitting. Like, go look at sourdough bread makers. Like, go find inspiration in other industries that you feel like you could pull in our industry. That's like one of my biggest takeaways and probably my biggest secret that I'm giving you right now. Trust me when I say that you will be so much better off, because again, I'm not saying that I mute people out of a negative experience or anything like that, but like, I have so much creativity and so many ideas. And I just find when I see what other wax brands and aftercare companies and all that stuff are doing, it just dilutes my own creativity. And so that's me telling you that that possibly could be the reason if you're having any slumps and stuff like that. Whew. And you know what's funny is a lot of people will tell me that with most people's videos and podcasts, they have to like do like the 1.2 or the 2 because they just need the voice to get moving along. But with me, they don't. And I'm like, I know. I feel like I'm like a rabbit and I just go and like I truly do flow through this shit. Like I go very fast. I talk very fast, but I'm like trying to get the information out and then I'm done. Okay. I hope you learned something. I hope you were inspired. And I'm so excited for the next episode. Thank you so much for being here. You'll never, ever, ever hear me stop saying that. Thank you so much for letting me chat with you. And my hope is that I can give you information that's so helpful for your business. And that's like my exchange for you coming and supporting me. So thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Okay, bye. Thank you for listening to the Waxing Podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, be sure to follow the show and leave a review. It helps continue creating resources for beauty pros just like you. For updates and more, follow us on Instagram at the Waxing Podcast. I'll see you next week.